The golf world is once again buzzing around Wyndham Clark, and this time the controversy is not simply about his personality, his history, or the intense reaction he received from fans. The spotlight has shifted toward footage and questions surrounding his latest major victory, with claims circulating that several prominent players are challenging aspects of what happened. Before going any further, it is important to separate confirmed facts from speculation. Clark did win the 2026 US Open at Shinnecock Hills, finishing one shot ahead of Sam Burns with a final round 73 and a 4 under total. Official reports do not currently establish that 5 players have formally filed a challenge against his title. However, the controversy surrounding Clark has created the perfect environment for every piece of footage, every ruling, and every questionable moment to receive intense scrutiny. Clark entered the final round carrying a 6-shot advantage, but the atmosphere around him was anything but comfortable. Spectators openly rooted against him, and several fans were removed by police after crossing the line with their heckling. Instead of collapsing under the pressure, Clark managed to hold on and defeat Burns by a single stroke. That result should have produced a straightforward celebration, but because of the enormous attention surrounding Clark throughout the week, every moment of the tournament was placed under a microscope. That is where the newly discussed footage becomes so important. Whenever a tournament is decided by a single shot, even a small question can become enormous. Was the ball positioned correctly? Did a player receive the proper relief? Was a rule applied consistently? Did officials have access to the same information viewers later saw on television? These are the questions that can dominate golf discussions long after the final putt drops. In Clark's case, the scrutiny is even stronger because his reputation has already made him one of the most polarizing players in professional golf. The idea that 5 stars could be questioning the victory has therefore created a huge reaction among fans. But questioning a moment is not the same as proving that a championship was won illegally. Golf has extremely detailed rules, and tournament officials are responsible for making decisions based on the information available to them. Television footage can sometimes reveal angles that were not visible to players or officials in real time, but that does not automatically mean the original decision was incorrect. This distinction is critical because social media can turn an unclear clip into a definitive accusation within minutes. Clark's 2026 US Open victory was already surrounded by a remarkable amount of drama. According to the PGA Tour, he effectively turned the hostility into motivation, using the crowd's reaction as fuel throughout the championship. He had already endured a difficult period following the previous year's US Open, including criticism over his behavior at Oakmont. The PGA Tour reported that Clark spent significant time working on his mental approach and controlling his emotions before returning to major championship contention. That history matters because it explains why so many people are paying attention now. Clark is not entering this controversy as an unknown player. He is a 2-time US Open champion, and his previous incidents have made his actions more heavily scrutinized than those of many other players. When a controversial clip appears involving a player who already has a complicated relationship with fans, people naturally begin asking whether the latest incident deserves further examination. Another important point is the difference between criticism from players and an official protest. There is currently a major gap between those two things. A player can privately question a ruling, express frustration about a situation, or discuss footage without formally challenging a championship result. Unless tournament authorities announce an investigation, ruling change, penalty, or other official action, the title remains Clark's. The available reporting confirms his victory and the intense atmosphere surrounding it, but does not establish that 5 stars have successfully challenged or overturned the result. Still, the debate raises an interesting question about modern golf. Television coverage has become so detailed that almost every swing can be replayed from multiple angles. Fans can pause footage, zoom in, compare positions, and analyze tiny movements that would have been impossible to examine decades ago. That technology can help officials make better decisions, but it can also create confusion when viewers interpret a clip without understanding the complete rule or circumstances. And that is exactly why the story could continue developing. If additional footage reveals something genuinely significant, officials could be forced to explain what happened and why the original decision was made. If the footage simply shows an ordinary situation that was correctly handled under the rules, then the controversy could fade just as quickly as it appeared. Right now, the biggest danger is allowing speculation to become accepted as fact before the relevant evidence has been fully reviewed. For Clark, however, the situation is another reminder that winning a major championship does not always mean escaping controversy. His second U.S. Open victory was supposed to be a story of redemption. After facing criticism, intense heckling, and enormous pressure at Shinnecock Hills, he managed to stay composed and finish the job. The PGA Tour described the championship as a battle of Wyndham versus the world, highlighting just how hostile the environment became around him. Sam Burns deserves attention as well. He finished only one shot behind Clark, meaning that any legitimate ruling issue could potentially become extremely important to the final outcome. When the margin is that narrow, every decision carries greater significance. Burns did not simply finish several shots behind the champion. He was right there, within striking distance, which naturally makes fans wonder what might have happened if one critical ruling had gone differently. But until there is an official statement from the USGA or another governing authority, the responsible conclusion is simple. The footage may deserve examination, the questions may deserve answers, and players are absolutely entitled to seek clarification. However, there is no confirmed evidence at this point that 5 stars have successfully challenged Clark's victory, or that his championship has been taken away. What makes this story so explosive is the combination of 3 things: a controversial player, a one-shot major championship, and footage that fans believe deserves another look. Put those elements together and the internet will naturally explode. But golf's rules cannot be decided by social media polls or viral headlines. They must be decided through evidence, official review, and the rules of the competition. So now the question is not simply whether Wyndham Clark won the US Open. He did. The real question is whether the controversial footage contains anything that could legitimately change how that victory is viewed. If officials determine that everything was handled correctly, Clark's second major championship will stand exactly as it does today. But if genuinely new evidence emerges, the golf world could be facing one of the most. For now, Clark remains the 2026 US Open champion. The controversy is real in the sense that fans and observers are debating the footage, but the stronger claims about 5 players formally challenging his victory should be treated as unconfirmed unless an official source verifies them. And perhaps that is the most important part of this entire story. In a sport built around precision, honesty, and rules, the final verdict should come from evidence, not speculation.